Gavin Newsom. So yesterday I did announce this on the Anton Daniels channel. I try to limit certain things that I talk about so that I can save it, so that I can add more context to the Millionaire Morning Show. But Gavin Newsom yesterday actually sued Trump's over tariffs from California, and then he provided his explanation. I want to play that in full for you guys. If you would allow for me to do so, make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. So this is Big Gav right after begging for federal money when Trump first became elected, and he got off the plane and he was jocking Trump. Big Gavin Newsom, who has a let me see something. What was the deficit? California budget deficit. The city of Los Angeles has a $1 billion budget deficit. California is facing an estimated $73 billion budget deficit. Let me say that again. Originally, it was a $68 billion budget deficit for the 24-25 year. That has been adjusted upwards of about $4 billion more dollars. California, before Trump even got into office, and I want to make sure that I say this before he jump on this podium and start saying all of the crazy stuff that he's going to say. California is facing a $73 billion budget deficit before Trump even took office. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. This is Gavin Newsom speaking specifically about Trump's tariffs and how he's going to sue the Trump, or how they're suing the Trump administration over the tariffs and why.
Thank you all for being here and taking the trip. I want to thank Christine and Chris for having us and hosting us, and thank you, Chris, for your stewardship and leadership and willingness to be here and step up at this critical moment. Look, I think the Attorney General did an exceptional job in laying out the framework of this lawsuit and the why as it relates to the particular issues under the IEEPA, and notably issues that have been brought to the fore as it relates to the major questions doctrine recently by the Supreme Court. I would just highlight just two of the specific examples the Supreme Court used as it relates to the major questions doctrine on the issue of student loans under the Biden administration, on the Clean Power Plan under the Obama administration. If they are consistent, then this lawsuit is a lock in terms of what the Attorney General has laid out and what this state is asserting. But I want to tell you what our state of mind is as it relates to the issues that impact the state of California, obviously the state of our union, and the state of the economy more globally. We talk often about California being the fifth largest economy in the world. That is correct. We're also the largest manufacturing state in the United States of America, $412 billion output. And I want to put that in perspective. Texas is 41% smaller. It's a 41% larger share of manufacturing output just here in the great state of California. Puts in perspective something that often isn't communicated, I think, as effectively as it should be. By the way, the United States is the second largest manufacturer in the world, which is also something that I think is important to highlight. So the manufacturing footprint in this state is disproportionately impacted by the tariffs, disproportionate to any other state in the nation. Of course, we talk about the fifth largest economy in the world. Let's put that in perspective. We're 14% of the U.S. GDP. That is 50% higher than the next state. No other state will be more impacted by the impacts of this, as Christine said, uncertainty that is best described as toxic uncertainty because of these tariffs. Let me underscore that with more consideration and context to where we are. We are also the largest hunting, fishing, agriculture, and forestry state in this nation, 150% larger than the next state, Texas. When folks talk to us about the impacts, regional impacts of rural economies, you're talking about California. You're not just talking about the Midwest and places like Texas. You're talking about our state, the state of California. Almonds you see around us, export dependent. Pistachios, export dependent. Dairy, export dependent. In fact, 43% of almonds and pistachios and dairy are export dependent.
I agree, Azriel. I think that the bigger issue, right, because a lot of what is happening in California is that there's this mass exodus of people that are leaving the state. Now, I will say that there are a lot of people that are actually moving back to California because other reasons. They're willing to pay the high taxes because, hey, they just can't take the cold. Or, man, I just want to be on the beach. And I think that that's okay. Listen, if you want to move back to California, and I think that all Californians, especially the ones that are super liberal, should move back to California, and you're willing to stomach the higher cost of living and the housing and the homelessness and the crime and all of this stuff for better weather, I'm all for it. I have no problem whatsoever. I've seen a lot of people complaining that were originally from California, and it was like, listen, I know our state is messed up, but it's one thing about just being able to have the weather year round not be messed up, and they're willing to pay that extra tariff as a result of that, because that's all California is doing is tariffing people. Absolutely. But there is more people leaving on a regular basis and more businesses leaving California than is staying in California. And that is the bigger issue that Gavin Newsom does not want to address, because I think that it makes him look bad for whatever his political future is or his political aspirations are in the future. So he won't tell you that. He won't have a conversation about how California has a $73 billion budget deficit before Trump ever even took office. Sam, you all right over there? Says Anton looking all almondy. You all right over there, Sam? That's the T. Janley. 40% off your first order plus 20% off of life. I don't know how to feel about that. Hopefully it's Samantha, not Samuel. Hopefully it's Samantha, not Samuel. All right? I'm assuming that it's Samantha because it's a pink S. Now, if it's a Samantha and I'm looking all almondy, then I'm melting your mouth, not in your hands. But if it's Samuel, man, if you don't get your sassy butt from behind me, which one is it? Is it all right? Before we continue this, is it Samuel or is it Samantha? I need to know. Because if it's Samantha, I'm going on tour this summer. But if it's Samuel, we got some problems, big dog. All right, you might have to get a timeout. Don't block him. He might just have to get a timeout. Let me know.
In the state of California, few industries will be hammered more than the toxic uncertainty of these Trump tariffs. The impacts, what more evidence do you need? Check your 401k. Check your portfolio. If it includes NVIDIA,
Thank you, Rhonda.
Check it right now. NVIDIA, the great California company, one highlighted by this same Trump administration over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours, just got hit today with a $5.5 billion charge. Great California company got hit with a $5.5 billion charge, sending the markets to tumble yet again today. NASDAQ down over 2% as I speak. The uncertainty is pronounced and it is profound in the state of California. Consider just the imports coming from Mexico, Canada, and China. 44% of all of the imports into the state of California alone come from just those three countries, $197.3 billion in 2023. The impacts of these tariffs particularly on those three countries, disproportionately impact the state of California. Across the spectrum, the impacts are off the charts. We talk about regional disparities. The impact in counties like this, counties like Kern, rural parts of the state will be outsized. It's not just the coast and technology. Think about the impacts already in the mega region
Talk crazy
of
in the
Baja
chat.
and San Diego. Chris, you were talking about the integration of supply chains and a deeper appreciation and understanding that decades and decades forming a relationship, building trust, manufacturing, one side of the border, assembling on the other side of the border. You think about the impacts, the automobile industry, electronics, aerospace, in our state alone, disproportionate impacts. So California, why California? Well, that's why. No state is poised to lose more than the state of California.
I wonder if y'all would actually vote for Gavin Newsom again if it wasn't term limits in California. I don't know what it is, P. Shank. I wonder if y'all would actually vote Gavin Newsom in for another term if it wasn't term limits over in California. Man, he has truly, and I'm not saying that the governors before him wasn't just as bad, but Gavin Newsom has truly ran y'all state into the ground. I cannot think of a worse governor than Gavin Newsom. And now he's trying to basically waste taxpayer dollars in court, suing the Trump administration, as though that is going to make any difference whatsoever. And they're making and holding press conferences so that he can try to make himself look good so he can set himself up for a presidential run in 2028. He's deflecting from the real issues that's happening inside of his state. And he's been running his state into the ground since he got into office. They spent over $28 billion, allegedly, on homelessness and didn't even put a dent in it. Where did all of the money go and where did all of the resources go in California? Where did all of the money and the resources go over in California?
So that's our state of mind. And that's why we're asserting ourselves on behalf of 40 million Americans. And I imagine if you caucus those 40 million Americans, you'd find few, I don't care where they were in the last election, that are celebrating this uncertainty, that are celebrating the largest tax increase.
So Trump, again, has been in the office, or I'm sorry, not even been in office. It hasn't even been 100 days. I believe it's like 84, 85 days or something like that. And he's had tariffs on for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And they're blaming Trump for what it is that's happening in California versus what was happening before Trump even got in office?
In modern U.S. history. In essence, a sales tax. In essence, a sales tax. A regressive sales tax that hurts working folks, that hurts poor folks, that hurts hardworking folks
He trying to,
like Christine and those that Chris represents.
What did I tell y'all yesterday about how they try to use examples to illustrate a point of personas? He's really trying to sound presidential right now. He's really trying to sound presidential.
Proportionately. This is recklessness at another level. The geopolitical impacts are outsized. The trade impacts are outsized, not just the economic. That's why we were up in Canada making a case anew to try to encourage Canadians. What the hell do we have on the Canadians? Mocking people in another country, one of our great partners? Talking about being a 51st state? The fact that we had to invest in advertising up in Canada and encourage people to come to the great state of California, where 2 million Canadians visited last year, is a sign of the times, a testament to the moment we're living in. We're 2,000 miles away from Washington, D.C. We're a world away from the values that are emanating out of the White House. Again, that's why we're here. That's why we are asserting ourselves. I can't imagine anything more unifying for a state at this moment than stepping up as we're stepping up here today on this critical issue. So I just, again, want to thank the Attorney General.
So, again, this is your taxpayer dollars at work. This is California Governor Gavin Newsom, who is on his way out and is going to be probably making his bid for President of the United States of America in 2028.